Hey everybody, I'm your colorful Am, the amber behind Amber's the color. And I guess like all other things aside, because I've never actually done this is my first do-it-yourself video. Now, to be perfectly honest, I've done lives where I show people how to carve a pumpkin or make cookies, but I've never done a do-it-yourself video, so bear with me and I hope we have some fun. Why am I doing a do-it-yourself video, you might ask? Well, perhaps you recognize this broom, and perhaps you don't, because I'm not so full of myself as to think that she is everywhere on Facebook, but she's gone places, and people asked me to show how I did it, so here we go. The first thing that you're going to need is, I used, for the broom I just showed you, the one that's in a picture on my Facebook page from this past Sunday, I used the trimmings from our Yule tree that my husband and daughters went and bought while I was working on my mural at Christine's Curiosities in the town where I work and live actually, but tonight we're going to use trimmings out of the pine tree from my yard because I'm so pleased that people want to know how I did my Yule Besom, but I'm not cutting up my Yule tree anymore for those purposes. So I asked the pine tree if I could take some of the branches and needles, and it reluctantly allowed me to take a few. So we took a few. You're also going to need to pick out your broom handle or broomstick, besom handle, besom stick, whatever you want to call it. For the OG Yule Besom, I used a piece of cedar that my father-in-law had given to my husband and said he didn't know what to do with it. He gave it to my husband and said, make me find something to do with it. My husband sanded it down, made it look real pretty, as you previously saw. I don't have another one of those, but I do have this wonderful stick that called to me in a park one day. I was at some trees and I was admiring them, and then this little guy called to me and I looked down and he said, take me home, and I did. Full disclosure, since then my beliefs have changed and I do not bring so many things in from the wild. That said, these are all things that came to me and I feel like it's completely acceptable to use them, except the pine needles. I asked for them, and like I said, my tree gave them to me because bagworms. And last but not least, you're going to need some binding material to put your branches on your big stick. Okay, then what I did next was I split my branches up. I got the biggest ones all together, and then I had the smallest ones a little bit separate. Now, you can do these steps any which way you choose, because I am fully a believer in artistic license, in going with your intuition. If I say this is what I did and you think this would work better, please do it that way, and then share it with me, because I'm curious. I want to know. Originally, I was going to start with all the small things in the middle and put the big stuff on the outside, because I thought it would be like this nice little effect, right? But for the broom, this one, I put the big branches in the center and then worked my way out, going to smaller and smaller branches until I used all the branches I was going to use. So sometimes I get a little sidetracked. So to be clear, my original thought was to use the small branches in the middle and the big ones on the outside for like that poof dress effect. But what you see and what's in the picture and what I've held in this video started with the big branches in the middle, working our way out with smaller branches until these smallest were on the outer layer. And that's what we're gonna do with this guy. And you say, like, how is this a broomstick? Look, I'm working with what I've got because this was requested, and I'm happy to fulfill the request. But it's a busy work week, and I didn't have time for going hunting in the woods. And check out like a minute and a half ago where I said like I don't bring things in with me anymore because of how my beliefs has changed. You do you. I'm not telling you how to do. I'm just saying how I am. So I used what I had, something I got like 5 or more years ago that's been looking for purpose. Now, one of the fun things, especially when your branch is light at one end and heavy at the other, is you're going to have to find creative ways to balance it as you're working. So keep that in mind, guys. So this guy is absolutely the biggest branch that I have. So we're going to start with this one in the middle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide how I want to attach it first off, right? So like, I'm not just flying blind with all things, at least artistically speaking. You should do a little bit of pre-planning. And I'm looking at it and I think this is going to be the best place to do this. So let's get a good angle, because last time I wasn't trying to record what I was doing. All right, so there's a lot of different ways that you can attach it, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie the string around this center part of the branch first, okay? Because that's going to help hold it stable. And I'm not putting it around these other ones, and you'll see why here in a second. Okay, so I've tied it around the middle part of the branch, and now I'm going to tie that to the end of the broomstick here. So I've just tied it on the one time, but we have plenty of stuff to work with, and we want this to be stable because, okay, let's be clear. It's pine. It's probably going to dry out unless you want to like shellac it or dip it in resin or wax or something for preservation purposes. Otherwise, these are going to dry out. This is not a permanent thing. I'm not using glue because it's not a permanent thing, but I do want it to be sturdy and able to be used as a decoration and for protection, because pine, it's for protection. So anyway, before I keep rambling, so we've tied it around once. Now we're going to bring those branches that are sticking out, we're going to bring them into the mix here, and we're going to wrap this around and pull them close to the base, okay? And you know what? This is difficult to do one-handed. If you're like wondering, oh, that looks kind of difficult. Yes, I'm not making it look hard just for fun. It is a little bit difficult to do one-handed. You know, I was lucky enough that every once in a while when I was working on the original broom, I would say to my husband or my daughter, hey, come pull this thread for me. But as you can see, it is possible to do it without, without an extra set of hands. And now we're just going to keep wrapping and tying. So like not every single time I wrap it around have I tied it, but all of the initial getting something bound down, I'm tying it. And then every once in a while as I wrap it around, I'm tying it. And eventually I'm going to, at this point, because I've run out of room on this one end, I'm just going to go ahead and tie it off. And because it's a natural item and I am kind of funky in my style, I'm not cutting the ends off. I didn't cut the ends off that other one. And I'll show you why, I guess, toward the end of this little process here. So that's our first one, and it's on there pretty good. All right, so we have our one on here, so we're going to flip it over to the other side of the broomstick. We've got one of our next biggest pieces. Now this one is much wider, so I'm going to tie the base like I did with the first one, but then I'm immediately going to be strapping these guys down. So, and when I say tying around the base, this is what I mean. We're tying this to give it a little bit of stability, so when we tie it to our broomstick, it doesn't like slide all over the place. Now I say that because the first couple ones, On my big broom, I didn't do that with, and it wasn't very stable. So this one, everyone is starting off with getting that stability tie and then being tied to the broomstick. Now I look at the way each branch is made as I'm choosing how to put it on the broomstick. So do you see how this side is going to lay more flat? That's why I'm putting it that way. Like, that is a concerted choice, and I went out of my way with each of the branches in the first broom, and again with this broom I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to conscientiously choose how I put it on there so it'll all lay as flat as possible. Now it is fairly difficult, so like there is a little bit of maneuvering that you have to do as you're tying these on to, a round object tied onto a round object. It gets a little bit dicey sometimes, you know what I mean? And I know I said I was immediately going to tie those other pieces down, but I decided I want to secure it to the broomstick first, just to make the rest of that process a little bit easier. And because this one is so spread out the way it is, what I'm going to do just to keep everything looking uniform is I'm going to go ahead and just take this piece and wrap it all around, because like here's the thing with crafts and creating things from natural products. You've got to be pretty open to going with the flow and compromising your technique to work with your materials, because like pine especially, like it stays pretty spread out, you know what I mean? Like the way it grows on the tree is fairly spread out, and that means the branches in their natural form are automatically going to splay out like that. Okay, so we are going to, remember how I said it doesn't matter that we've got these little extra bits here? We're going to work that down in here so that our next string just pulls that down into the rest of the broom, so you don't have to waste any materials. If you choose to go back and not put permanent knots in and you're going to dismantle your broom, then you've still got all this binding material that you can reuse again. As Maddie says on Witches Talking Tarot a lot, in this house we recycle. And that is Maddie from Peace, Love, and Tea Leaves, so you should definitely follow her page if you don't already. She's also my co-host on Witches Talking Tarot, so if you enjoy listening to me be me, check out Witches Talking Tarot. It's our podcast about all things occult, Witches Talking Tarot, and other things. Okay, so we've got one branch on either side of our broomstick. So again, we're just going to find our next one in line, whichever we want to do. We're going to go ahead and tie our binding material around the base so that it's easier to keep our branch in place on the broomstick or on the besom. So we got that there. We get him, and this one, the way it's curved, I think I'm actually going to do this side of my broomstick, and we're just going to put him right here. And one thing that I like to do is, I don't know if you saw that move, but take it, wrap it around one of the former sticks, right? And that again helps hold it in place. Okay, now since you're possibly doing this, one-handed like I am, or two-handed, however you want to look at this, where it's one set of hands and you're balancing and tying and doing all this stuff, you may want to do just one branch that way at a time, right? So I tied it around that branch. Now I'm going to loop it around. I'm going to pull my other material under there to get it just as part of the broom. Right, 'cause it's all going to be one thing. And now pull this guy around, and we're going to loop it up under that branch to get that stability and just help make it one cohesive piece as we tie, okay? Now, in case we haven't realized it, every time I finalize one of these pieces of binding material, I like knot it. I'm not just tying it the one time. I am absolutely knotting it because if I do reuse these scraps, it's going to be like in our compost or something. All right, now we've got the piece for our fourth side. I know it's a circle, like I get that it's like not a square and there are not technically any sides, but that was the easiest way for me to tackle this as a task, is I did, one on either side of the circular object, and then I did one, one on either of the remaining sides, and then just fill in the blanks from there. I'll show you what. Okay, now as we get more and more on here, sometimes we lose a little bit of stability. This branch is wanting to move around, so we're going to stabilize it by putting it under both the stick on this side and the stick on this side. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. I'm not used to, like I said, doing do-it-yourself videos, so I'm trying to make sure you can see. Okay, and once we did that, like this stick that was trying to move all around, as you can see, it's got a good stability. It's not going anywhere easily. And once we continue wrapping things around it, it won't go anywhere at all. Now as we go, we're going to, for me it was easiest to continue doing the, I didn't go over, I just started going into the empty spots where those sticks weren't existing at, right? So this one we're going to put down in here, and we're just going to go ahead and grab that stability by putting it under the other sticks that are already tied to the broom. We're going to do the same thing on the other side just to keep everything all even. We're going to tie it in the back. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm looking at everything through a sea of green, so forgive me. Again, doing like holding the broom. If you can get one that is, equally heavy at both ends, that would alleviate some of these fun little issues that I've experienced when making my besoms. But at the same time, like, it's fine. I just have to balance it. It's all a balancing act in life anyway. What is making a besom any different than a unique balancing act all its own? Okay, so here we go. Okay, so this area is kind of blank, so my next branch, and I'm getting to the end of my branches. Like I said, I'm a little different in my beliefs, and I hold a belief system that anything I take out of nature is then removed from its proper cycle and does not get the opportunity to decompose and go back to the earth and be part of the cycle that it's supposed to be a part of. So I don't typically take things off of my plants unless it's like food purposes, you know what I mean? Like, I totally have a garden, and I harvest my plants out of my garden, and I thank those plants as I harvest them. But the whole point of this is we're getting close to the end of our branches, because I only took from the tree what I felt I needed to make a decent do-it-yourself video for the fam. So I thank you for your understanding on that point. All right, so this is one of our last branches, and as you can see, we're getting much smaller than what we started out with. So we're just going to find a place, and the broom seems to be much heavier on this end that's not on screen, which is why the part that's on screen is on screen, because I'm going to probably predominantly add to this section to help it kind of grow there. And I could put this under the branch, but I'm going to put it over the branch instead because we're going to be reining this all in and bringing it to where we hopefully have less of a wide broom and all of those branches kind of bunched together, pointing in the same direction, so to speak. And that's with all like these tiny little branches. As we add them, that's what we're really gonna do with their binding material a lot, is bring it down. I don't know if I caught that on camera very well, but I wrapped it around in wider. It's not tight together, it's wider, right? It crosses here and then comes around and crosses here, so it's much further spread apart so that we can get a broader area on the besom and start bringing all those branches that are spread out in. And I don't think I have quite enough to do it again, so we'll do it some more with the next one that we add. All right, so this is one of the last. We have 3 more, including this one. So we're gonna slide him down in here. And now again, if you see something and you're like, oh, I know a better way to do that, well, like, that's totally cool, because like I'm just using what I know about things and putting it into action, and there's not necessarily any rhyme or reason to the ways that I chose to create this besom, outside of, because it is made of pine, I have a high suspicion that my original besom that was made with the cedar stick is not going to just like last, you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be anything beyond a decoration for this Yule season. So I did create it in a way where I didn't use any kind of adhesive or glue, and I really want to be able to, at the end, just put everything that's dead out in the garden or the compost to go back into the earth, and everything else to just kind of get to be used again, because we do recycle in this house. I mean, this twine that I'm using, that I used for both this besom that we're making together and the original besom that inspired the creation of this video, this was gifted to me. Somebody said, hey, I got this with something else. It was Christine at Christine's Curiosities while I was there. Anyway, she was like, I don't need this, can you use it? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm sure I can. And then the next day, I did. Okay, so we've got all of our branches on here. So far, this is what we are working with. It's a smaller Yule Besom, but like fucking cute. Like, tell me this isn't adorable. It's fucking adorable. Okay, so time for the finishing touch. You know, you can leave it like this if you like. That's cool. Like, that's fine. But otherwise, we're going to cover this up, and you can use anything. You don't have to use rope. I was using, when I had around the house, I was going for a specific thing, because I have a Yule Besom that is like different. I made it with some friends some years ago. Maddie was one of them. We had fun decorating them, and they're all like sparkly and green and red and gold and, you know, whatever. And so like I wanted this one to be different. So we're doing this mini one in the same motif as the original, but yours can be any way you want it. So if you want to use ribbon or you want to use fucking tinsel, it probably won't hold too well, but hey, you do you, boo. Either way, you use whatever you want instead of this to attach the branches to your stick in the first place. Hell, if you want to use like twist ties and pipe cleaners, fuck, that would be great. And you can get all so many different colors in there. Like, you can make it your own. You can do whatever you want to do with it. And if you don't have access to like pine trees and stuff, like, you can use pipe cleaners, and you could use feathers and sticks that you buy at the Dollar Tree. Okay, so, but for my broom, what I'm doing, and you do whatever you want because it'll be fabulous. It'll be what you want, and that's going to be the most magical part about it. We're using literally the same rope. This is what I cut off of that after I finished making it. Okay, so it's my husband's rope, and it's got some tape on the end. So we're going to start with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to line this in here. Okay, we're just going to put it somewhere. Okay, it's got to have somewhere to start. And then we're going to start wrapping the rope around. Oh, it's longer than I thought. Okay, and all these little things, we're going to keep them up under what we're wrapping so they are out of sight, unless you don't want them out of sight. And then, again, you do you. Like, make it how you will like it, because that is going to make it an even better besom for you, no matter whether it's for decorative purposes or magical purposes or both, like mine. Because, again, remember, you want protection. Pine is for protection. That's why I clean with Pine Sol. But oh my God, she's so cute. I didn't even think that the one for the do-it-yourself was gonna be as cute. But like, I am actually in love right now. Like, I was just trying to give you guys a do-it-yourself video that worked. But like, tell me why she's so adorable. And like, I'm gonna do like I did with that one. That one, I kind of tied it off in a natural way because, again, I want to be able to reuse everything. So I'm just pulling up one of these middle ones and I'm popping the rope under it, and I don't have enough leverage to hold it up in the air and show you while I do that. Ooh, ooh. So you can bind it however you choose. This is my choice. You don't have to do this. If you want to, great. Risk breaking a nail like I am right now. But otherwise, do whatever works for you, because whatever works for you is always going to be the best outcome, because you're going to think of it in positive ways all the time because you did what works best for you. So, here she is. She's a little Yule Besom. And she will sweep up whatever, because we took the time to make sure that she was sturdy. So until she starts making the mess, she can sweep up a mess if we want. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little do-it-yourself video with Amber as the color. I am your colorful Am, and you can find me on all the socials at Amber as the color. All the socials that I'm on: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on the X, but I never use it anymore. You can find me at Witches Talking Tarot. Sometimes you can even find me with Peace, Love, and Tea Leaves. You can also find me every morning as Your Morning Witch. So if you really enjoy me, follow hashtag Your Morning Witch, because like, there's what, 365 days in the year, so like 350 of them, I'll give you a morning video.